Okay, we're on page 14. Now, this is a big one because I'm introducing you to something called the slope-intercept form of the equation of a line. And I got to be honest here, this is actually supposed to be taught in grade 10, but I don't understand why, because it's so much simpler than the way we used to teach it in grade 9. It kind of, before it was like, we're just giving you little glimpses into things, but we're not telling you how it all comes together. And I think that here, where I'm telling you how it all comes together, it just makes so much more sense. So the equation of a line in slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Okay, and in this equation, m is the slope, and b is the y-intercept. Okay, that's it. The x and y are the x and y coordinate pairs which fit into this equation. So if I'm just going to zip back to, let's just, don't get dizzy. I'm going to go back up to here. Oh yeah, let's look at this one, page 5. Okay. I gave you these points that satisfy this equation, and notice that if I were to count the slope on this page, 1, 2, 3 over 1. So the slope, rise over run, is 3 over 1, which is the slope right there. Okay, and then these x and y, these are points which satisfy the equation. So any value of x and y for which this equation is true will be on that line. Okay, I'm just going to let you think about that for a minute. Okay, let's go to a page where you did the calculations yourself. So here, I gave you the x's on this one and you figured out the y. So when x is -2, y is 8, that makes this equation true. And the slope on this one is 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. So the slope, which we always abbreviate m, the slope is 4. Oh, that matches the equation. Okay. All right, let's go back to the equation, the page we're on, page 14. Nope, page 14. Okay, so the way you, there's 2 steps to this. The first, oh, and sorry, I didn't talk about the y-intercept. The y-intercept is exactly what you would think it is. It's where it intersects or intercepts the y-axis. So in example 1, the slope is the coefficient of the x. So the slope here is 2 over 3. And the y-intercept is this number here. And I'm including the 1 because in this case, the y-intercept is positive. So the y-intercept here is 1. I can write it as +1 because it is +1, but we don't usually write the plus. We would write it if it was a negative. Okay. Now, the way you graph it, you always start with the y-intercept first. You always need to do that first because that places the graph for you. So I'm going to start at a y-intercept of 1. I'm going to start right here. This is my y-axis and a value of 1. So I know that my graph goes through that point. I just want to show you why you do this, the y-intercept first. I'm just going to put a couple of equations here. So I've got y equals 2/3 x. So plus 1, that's what so this was the equation that we had in the page that we were just doing. That's y equals 2/3 x plus 1. If I do it as, if I change it to y equals 2/3 x plus 2, it changes the position of the line. And actually I can, if I change this to 5, it moves it somewhere different. So that's what I meant by doing the intercept first positions the line. These lines are all going to be parallel because their slope is the same, but where they are positioned on the grid depends on what the y-intercept is. So you need to do that first, and then that's the starting point for counting out the slope. Okay? And then number 2, color can I do this in? I'll do this in gray. Number 2, I'm going to use my slope. So my slope, which is rise over run, is 2 over 3. So it has a rise of 2 and a run of 3. So starting at this point, that's the important thing. You're starting at this point. I've got a rise of 1, 2, and a run of 1, 2, 3. So this point is also on my graph. All right. It's always a good idea to have 3 points before you draw your line. So remember, 2 over 3 is the same as -2 over -3, right? Yeah. So starting at my same starting point, I can have a rise of -2 and a run of -3. So that gets me to there. And then I can draw my line through there. Okay, now I'm just going to draw my arrow, or my line rather. When you do your line, it should not end where your points are. It should extend past your points, okay? Which is sometimes easier said than done with software, but there you go. Okay, because you don't want to lose the information of where the points are. Okay, so there's the graph is the one with the arrows on it. And remember, you can either do arrows that extend or lines that extend all the way to the edge of the grid, or you can have arrows on them, or both if you want. I also want to remind you that because this will come up in another question somewhere, that if my slope was, let's say, just picking numbers out of the air, -5 over 7, that equals 5 over -7, right? Because it doesn't matter which one of them is negative, they're the same thing. And although it's not particularly helpful for slope, it's the same as -5/7. Those are all equivalent, okay? Put that in your brain, maybe put it on a piece of paper and stick it to your wall beside you, because that's really important. All right, go and practice that page. Do the questions on that page. Check your answers. Make sure your graphs are in the right place. And then come back for one more page, page 15. Okay, page 15. This is working backwards from what we had last time. This time you're given the slope, you're given the y-intercept, and you're asked to both create the line, which you know how to do, because that's what we did on the last page, but also to write the equation. So let's do the line first. So remember, we always start with the y-intercepts. We're going to do that first. So again, the y-intercept here is 1. Okay, that just tells us where the graph is going to go. It places the line on the grid. And then our slope this time is -4/3, which is -4 over 3, and it's also 4 over -3. All right, so I can count both of those out. So starting here, I can have a rise of -4, so I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a run of 3, 1, 2, 3. So I have a point right here. And then I've got a rise of +4 and a run of -3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and I've got a point there. And then I'm going to draw my line. There. I think I'm getting the hang of that line drawing thing. I should change its color though, shouldn't I? I'll do that. Okay, so there's my line. Now I need to write the equation. So this is this up here, y equals mx plus b, this is the formula for the equation. Like it's the form of the equation. Okay, you can, I talk about the skeleton of the equation, which is that y equals something x plus something. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the m, or this spot here, with the m, which this case is the, well, which is always the slope, which is negative 4/3 in this case, and my slope, or my y-intercept, the b, is the 1. So that's the equation of this line. Okay, y equals negative 4/3 x plus 1. All right, it's just fine if you write that as y equals negative 4/3 x plus 1, because this and this are exactly the same. They're just typeset differently, right? I told you that it's just the software that's used is really what makes the difference when you're writing it, when you're reading it in a book. That's the only difference. Okay, and if my y-intercept was negative, I probably wouldn't put plus -2. I wouldn't go y equals 3x plus -2. I would just go y equals 3x minus 2. But they're both correct. Okay, this one's better because mathematicians are lazy and we don't like to write more than we have to. Okay, but I would never mark the first one wrong. Okay, all right, that is the end of this lesson. So hopefully you guys can work your way through this, and I will see you next time. Bye.